What's up? I know I'm filming this vertically. I am with that horizontal shit because I'm still figuring out the selfie stick. So this is going to be one for the occult warehouse, and if you guys didn't know, occult just means hidden, and it's something that is esoteric and that not everybody knows about. So there is a dearth of information about the subject on YouTube, although there's a lot of academic papers on it and a lot of commentary on it if you look it up on Google, although some of the commentary is from sites that you wouldn't want to affiliate with. But the concept that I want to share with you is FWHR. FWHR stands for facial width to height ratio. And it is among the physical traits that someone can have that we may experience certain biases when we evaluate a person and not even realize it. And it's been shown on a lot of studies that basically if you have a larger FWHR, which is basically the distance from here to here divided by the distance from here to here. And a person with a pretty wide FWHR, it'll be double as long to the side than it is up and down on the midface. And how does this bias work? So essentially FWHR, if somebody has a large FWHR like 2 or 2.1 or 2.3, we will unconsciously process them, everything else being equal, as more dominant, more authoritative, more knowledgeable, more aggressive, more formidable. And conversely, if someone has a smaller FWHR, they will be considered more of like a pushover, more easy to mess with, less authoritative, and what they're saying can be considered less important. And this is a bias that obviously has a lot of implications for business. It also has implications for dating because, as is kind of like the commonly known thing in 2019, women, are attracted to guys who are more dominant, more competent, more encompassing all of the traits that we're biased to associate with a higher FWHR. There have even been theories that people with a slimmer face and guys in general who look more like pretty or less masculine are more prone to have sort of a Napoleon complex about it, essentially. And so guys with a smaller FWHR may be more likely to act out or engage in juvenile delinquents or things like that due to the fact that, they have this stereotype threat, quote unquote, in regard to, looking more friendly, more submissive, more agreeable. And it's actually also been shown, and I know I'm just dumping all this information out, but fuck it, that's what the occult warehouse is for. It's even been shown that when it comes to competition, people with higher FWHRs do better in certain competitions, such as MMA. I think it was with 65 or 70% accuracy, scientists were able to predict who would win a UFC fight just by facial width to height ratio alone. The person with higher facial width to height ratio, even if the difference was slight, won 70% of the time in the randomized sample size that they looked at, or somewhere around that number. I don't know why this selfie stick is going ham. And so it's been shown that women are more likely to select a guy with a high FWHR for a one-night stand and more likely to expect a person with a lower FWHR to be better husband or better long-term dating material. And most of the FWHR differences in performance and perceived performance in competitions and business have been shown in men alone and not really in women. Although there might be some correlation there, but it's really more pronounced with men. And so, obviously if a person has like a wider face, their face is more shock absorbent to, getting punched in the face. And, if that was that and other bludgeon attacks with weapons or whatever was a big method of combat in human evolution, it would stand to make sense that we would evolve a sensor to, you know, look at a person with a wide face as being more capable in a hand-to-hand combat scenario. And, you know, if sports is a proxy for that, and dating is a thing that is supposed to, you know, select the survival of the fittest, then it would stand to reason that, you know, guys with, you know, that higher FWHR would be preferred in those settings, you know, if everything else is equal. Like if you know if a person is a really good athlete, you know, you're going to select them for your team regardless, and it can overcome a factor like FWHR. But, you know, if you're picking teams and, you know, everything else is pretty much equal, the FWHR, you're probably going to go for the person with a wider face. They just look more athletic, they look stronger, and they look more aggressive, assertive. And so I just think FWHR is interesting, and it has implications. And, you know, if you do look at, like, and this might be, like, biased as fuck, but if you look at people who are, if you look at, like, a road rage compilation, or you look at somebody getting mad over something really slight, and I'm not trying to encourage bias here, but a lot of times you'll notice that their head is, like, thick as fuck. Like, a lot of these, like, hot-tempered guys who, you know, are confrontational and shit, and who might, like, you know, break the non-aggression principle, or aka initiate force, start fights essentially. I have noticed that sometimes it tends to be the guys with, like, the wide ass face, or the brickhead sort of people who tend to be, like, aggressive like that. And but I mean, I've seen, you know, tons of all types of people do dumb shit, and I've seen tons of people with wide faces be really not aggressive. So it's a law of averages, like everything else. But I thought it was really interesting, and you know, I think there's a FWHR calculator on the internet, and if you look at a lot of guys who women consider to be bad boys, and be like, oh wow, they got that X factor, I'm really fucking attracted to him, blah blah blah. If you put their picture into that FWHR calculator, it'll often be like, you know, 2.4, 2.35, 2.1, really high, you know, when the average I think is like 1.7. And so, you know, put yourself in that calculator and see what your FWHR is. It's kind of interesting. If you do it as a selfie though, it's going to distort it and make it more narrow, because that's just the type of lens that is on the selfie camera. So you want, like, an external camera to have taken the picture of whomever you measure that way, if you're at all interested in that topic. But yeah, I just think it's interesting. It's interesting the way that we look at indicators of health, indicators of strength, indicators of personality that are just all in the face, and how much information we get when we look at somebody's face and hear the tone of their voice, and you know, look at their body, or look at, you know, or hear somebody talk about health or something like that, the type of judgments that we make about a person, and how willing we are to associate with them, how much we want their approval, what the implications are for social dynamics. So yeah, I think that about covers it in terms of FWHR. I just always wanted to make this video, and, you know, after like a year of knowing about this, I still see, like, nothing on YouTube about it, except for like a couple random videos that are not that informative. So hope this was a good introduction to facial width to height ratio, aka FWHR. Please subscribe and continue to enjoy the Occult Warehouse. Thank you.